Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, good morning if you're joining us from the West Coast, and welcome to our Prosperity Summit Encore webinar, breaking down financial equity barriers with financial edutainment. I am Dara Jaratinsky. I'm the Director of Network Building at Prosperity Now, and I'm happy to just guide you through our webinar today. Just a little background, the Prosperity Summit Encore series covers a breadth of topics featuring present-day best practices, powerful lessons, intentional tools, and change makers like you from across the community of Prosperity Now. Each installment of the series is designed to get you pumped for our 2024 Prosperity Summit in Washington, D.C., happening on September 4th through 6th in 2024. Some housekeeping to share with you all today. This webinar is being recorded and will be mailed to registrants and available online within 1 week of this webinar. All webinar attendees are muted to ensure sound quality at the moment. You can ask a question or share your thoughts with us by typing into the text box of the GoToWebinar question control panel. And if you experience any technical issues, please email gotomeeting@prosperitynow.org. And while you're all currently muted, there will be an opportunity for you to share some of your thoughts and ideas and experiences with us on this webinar verbally. So there will be a chance if you want to be unmuted and share with us, you can click the raise hand icon. If you're joining us from your computer, make sure that your mic is connected. Then click on the microphone icon on the left control panel. Green means you're unmuted. And again, in order for us, we'll have to unmute you when you raise your hand, but you'll also have to make sure that you're unmuted by clicking that microphone icon. And if you're joining us by phone, set your audio option to phone call and use the dial-in number. Enter your audio PIN as well. And that way we'll be able to hear you when we unmute you after you raise your hand to indicate that you want to share something with us. So to get the most out of today's call, we recommend joining us from a quiet space, grabbing a coffee, a tea, a snack, some water, and settling in. Engage with us, send us your questions and comments as you listen. Raise your hand to be unmuted when we prompt you with a question to do so. And of course, reflect on ways to apply what you learned today to your own work. We have two great speakers from our Prosperity Now community today. They are from FPP Coalition in Florida. There's Bill Mills, the president and CEO, and Hassan Thomas, the Spondulics Edutainment partner. And so with that, I'm going to kick things over to Bill.
And thank you. Welcome, everyone. And there is Hassan. Hello to you, Hassan.
Hello, hello. Happy to be here.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, thank you for joining me for this session. As Dara said, we do want to hear from you, and so we're going to have a few questions and such that we're going to ask. This is something that FPP has been working on for 11 years now. When I look back at it, it started small and gotten bigger. We'll talk about that in a moment, but we specifically want to really give you some ideas as we go through this webinar today, some ideas for you to use in your financial education. And in this case, we're actually going to speak about something called edutainment. Now, we found, and I'll go through some stats and such with you, but we found that there is a way to reach folks, especially those that you're trying to reach with financial education, and really get them to change their attitudes and behaviors, something that we know in financial education has been difficult. So we will go through that. And Hassan, is there anything you want to share before we move on?
I think that's it, man. I think you hit it right on the nail on the head, and let's get into it.
All
Definitely
right,
going to be
sounds
interactive conversation here today.
wonderful. So first of all, you'll see that word Spondulics, and Spondulics is a 19th century English term meaning pocket change. So it's a term we found that when we were looking for a name for our financial edutainment enterprises, to talk about or to use to promote our edutainment that looked a little bit cool, a little different, but then I actually had some meaning to it. I know that Hassan, when you and I first met, I think there was that question, what is Spondulics?
Sure would.
Yeah. So just a brief background before we go too far. So I am the president and CEO of FPP, and we'll go through who FPP is in for a second. But Hassan Thomas, we've known each other for a couple of years now, and had the pleasure of meeting this young man who is a dynamo. He is been really big on the scene with especially youth financial education. Hassan, you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, for sure, for sure. So, my name is Hassan Thomas. I am the host of Spondulics Prosperity One radio show, where we interview entrepreneurs, educators on how to be prosperous, and really it's more of a conversation on how to enlighten others and continue to grow each and every day. So I've been blessed to partner with Bill for the last 2 years, as he said, and it's really been a big journey here, and we're progressing every day, and super happy to be here and make some impact, make some change for you all.
Awesome.
Some pocket change. No
Yeah,
pun intended.
right. So yeah, let's go ahead and move on to the next slide there, Dara. We just a background on who FPP is. I think a lot of you might have heard of us. FPP, our legal name is Florida Prosperity Partnership. We've been using the moniker FPP simply because during COVID we grew significantly outside of Florida. Wasn't in the plans at the time. It's just that we went head on with technology at the time, and it really helped us to thrive in our work across the U.S. and now across the world. In fact, FPP through Spondulics has reached all 50 states and 6 continents last year. So we'll tell you a little bit more about Spondulics, but so we've really expanded greatly in that amount of time. Right now, FPP is a partnership. It's a membership organization that really is a coalition of financial capability practitioners. A lot of folks out there doing financial education, financial social work, financial counseling, coaching, that type of thing. So a lot of you guys that are out there doing this type of work. Over 4,000 members now, about 15% outside of the state of Florida. Most of those folks do serve low to moderate income households and individuals, and we have a mission of elevating financial capability for all. Now, you'll see that we have a few of our initiatives up here on the screen. Spondulics, which we'll talk about in more detail, Bank On Florida, so we lead Bank On for the state of Florida. Florida Taxpayer Opportunity Network, that is our VITA programs that we work with partners across the state and now across the country. In fact, we do trainings for folks who volunteer for VITA. So we trained people across the country in this last couple of years. We've trained over, I think, 1,700 in the past 2 years, people, volunteers, to get certified for IRS training. And then we have a Bright Minds, Fresh Ideas think tank. That is actually our youth program that we run here in the state of Florida. And it is all about leadership, professionalism, entrepreneurship, and financial capability for youth. So that's just a real quick background on some of the bigger things that FPP does, but at our heart, we are that organization that helps to build capacity and do a lot of train the trainer type events and such for financial capability practitioners is what we call y'all, financial capability practitioners. So Dara, if you want to go ahead and move to this next slide. All right.
Yes,
So now,
yes.
and Hassan, I guess we have our first question.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. As we said, this is going to be a very conversational discussion here today. And we really would like to know, how does diversity and inclusion play a role in financial equity barriers? Let's talk about it.
So if you want to go ahead and take yourself off mute, Dara, is there anything else that we need to give them as instructions?
Yeah, if you want to answer this question, we want to hear from you. Make sure that you raise your hand, click the raise hand icon, and we'll unmute you and cue you to start. So while we're giving folks maybe a few seconds to think. Oh, actually, it looks like Kelly Paparella has her hand raised. So I'm going to unmute you. Kelly, are you there?
I am, and congratulations saying my name correctly. I appreciate that. So I'm very new as being a practitioner, as you say, and but I'm not new in the world of providing education resources to the community. And of course, diversity and inclusion always play a role in trying to figure out who we need to target to get this information out. And so one of the first things I found when I came and inherited this amazing program that we call Making Sense of Money in Springfield, Missouri, is that it was hard to get curriculum to be inclusive for no matter who sits in this class, that we're trying to speak to them. And we call it, basic budgeting skills. But, people in the first class that I monitored, that I watched the facilitator teach, we had a very huge range of individuals sitting in there, a man who considered himself unsheltered, to the woman who was just divorced and never had to pay a bill on her own ever, and the curriculum seemed to work for them, but I learned really quickly that we needed to just make it much more inclusive, because in order to be able to have curriculum, I would love to know how we can develop curriculum that would reach anybody depending on where they're at in their journey in life. So because it didn't seem to really fit for both of them, but it fit for more of that middle road, if that makes any sense. People who have a little more stability in their day-to-day life, but if anyone's dealing with any kind of instability, is really hard to be able to try to teach, how to become financially stable. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you, Kelly. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
and Hassan, I know that we're going to talk about inclusivity in a few minutes here, but did you have any thoughts on what Kelly just said?
Yeah, I think one solution that could be is really whenever you're teaching, whenever you're speaking, making everything real life relatable to real life situations. And I think that's something that's so unique about the field that we're teaching, is that everything we do literally revolves around money. So there's a lot of different lessons that you can, intertwine into your lesson, that it can be real life relatable to that specific person, to that specific group. And as Bill mentioned, we're going to definitely dive into that. But I think that was what was on my mind when you're speaking about the lady who was going through, the instabilities and things of that nature. We all go through these things, and being able to relate these money messages to real life responsibilities and things that we go through, I think can be have a major impact.
And we'll talk about that more in depth as well, won't we? So yeah, Dara, if you have a couple of others, let's see who else we can talk to.
The next person I saw, the name is Joya Yorge, I believe his last name. So I'm going to unmute you. Joya, are you there? It looks like you're self-muted, Joya. Are you there?
I think I'm here now.
Great.
There you go.
Yeah, I just wanted to jump on to what the previous commenter said about the curriculum, but I think the facilitator also has so much to do with how the message is heard and who that facilitator is in terms of their age, gender, race, perceived socioeconomic status, either to kind of perpetuate inequities or perceived inequities that people feel, or who knows or who should know what about finances, or to really kind of break down some of those inequities and perceived barriers about who is able to make decisions and what decisions they're able to make about their money.
That's a very good point, and it's a beautiful name, Joya. Hassan, on that point, I'm wondering, just in thoughts, how does the color, or let's just say demographics in general, how does that play a role in who's teaching versus who is learning?
Yeah, I think it definitely does play a role in the initial outreach for a teacher, whether it's race, whether it's the diverse, whatever difference may be from the teacher to the students. It does play a difference in the beginning, but we're all human. We all can connect, and that's why I said, and that's something I've actually been practicing a lot this year, is making things conversational. Whenever you're able to speak to the audience and it's a conversation and it's not a lecture, then all those different stereotypes, all of those things go out the window, and now we're having a conversation as two humans. So I think that's where things can really, draw the line. Whether whatever race, whatever creed, whatever difference is, we're human and we like to talk, we like to communicate, and we like to congregate. And I think that's where the difference can lie.
That makes a lot of sense, Hassan. Dara, let's go ahead and go on to the next slide, because I think it's a good lead in for that. And I think many of y'all have seen this. This is from the FDIC, and it's the and underbanked numbers. But Hassan and I were just talking about this recently and felt like this was a good place to put this in here, just to remind people when we look at just the and underbanked numbers. And hopefully those of you on the call understand the importance of banking in general. And we understand that the unbanked don't have a bank account, but the underbanked they will have an account, but they're still using those payday lenders and the alternative financial services. And these charts will kind of drive home the point when we want to look at diversity and inclusion and financial equity barriers. We're seeing that there are some financial equity barriers specifically for those of color. We look at Hispanic versus Black versus white on these charts, and you can see that if you're a person that is white, that you are much more likely to be banked, and that's just one statistic here. So Dara, can we take us to the next slide real quick? This one here is a poll. You want to take it?
Yes. So we would like for you all to participate and answer this question for us. Women make up blank percentage of the world's unbanked population. What do you all think this answer would be? So go ahead and answer. We'll give you about 45 seconds to a minute, and then we'll come off and discuss.
Thanks, Hassan. So up on your screen now, you can go ahead and choose one of those percentages. And when we talked about this one earlier, Hassan, and we looked at that percentage and thinking about the percentage that are unbanked of women versus men, it does kind of bring home that point. Dara, you want to go ahead and I think we probably had enough time.
I was about to say, don't give away any hints.
Yeah. Well, and you know what? That's funny because the answer really is 55%, according to the World Economic Forum. And I see that a lot of you did choose 65. Not surprising based on the conversation that we just had. But it is unfortunate when we look at, now we've looked at color and we've looked at gender and
Yeah.
seen how that can affect just in this one instance of being unbanked. Thank you, Dara. If you want to go ahead and move on. So Hassan, what were your thoughts? Because I know you just learned this number real recently.
Yes, I was very, very surprised to see this, but now that I'm thinking of it, I'm wondering, is it from the past, stereotypes of, the husband and wife, husband, take care of the finance? Is that the reason? I'm wondering, what do you think leads to this? Because I wasn't expecting 55% of women to be in this statistic. So what do you think?
55% of the women that are unbanked. Well, women make up 55% of that unbanked population. It's that's a good question, Hassan. It could be a lot of that. I automatically assumed, because my wife does the checkbook and such at home, even though I happen to be the financial education person. And I honestly, I automatically assumed the opposite. But so that was my preconceived notion, and that's sometimes that you might not be able to always assume things, right?
Yep, yep. And I even think, speaking on something I can speak on a little bit more as far as the African American population, I think for us, it's really come from, again, those stereotypes and passing down generational trauma from the mistrust, the misinformation from banks and from those financial populations that are, that have been doing some not so good things in our communities. So I think it really starts, for speaking for the African American population, it will start with this education. And that's why I'm so glad we're here talking about, because as we know, financial edutainment is what really creates that change. And we're definitely about to get into that here pretty soon. But I think we're here in a great place, and we're doing good work here. So
take us to the next slide. Yes, thank you, Hassan. Sorry to interrupt you there, but you just led us right into the next slide. So this is some fun that our graphic artist had with me on this. Yeah, so specifically what Hassan was saying was, you know what? I had an idea, yes, but it actually came from a lot of research. So this has been 2012 that we were having a lot of discussions at that time period about financial education actually changing attitudes and behaviors, and seeing that there were a lot of studies out at the time that were saying it wasn't. And so the question was, okay, so what do we need to do to really change attitudes and behaviors? So we had a lady from the Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta speak at one of our conferences. We hold an annual conference. And she started talking about using different media in your financial education classes. So she used clips from movies and TV shows, and then she would talk off of those movies and TV shows. And so I began a search on what, does this have anything to it? Is there anything that shows that it does work? Is there, are there other financial edutainment, and I'll go into that in just a moment. Is there anything out there that is educating and entertaining? So I started researching and did not find too much out there. So there are some examples, and let's go ahead and go to the next slide, Dara. So this example here, this is a South African soap opera. So this soap opera is called Scandal. And in the soap opera, they had a character that was experiencing some financial problems. And so people would watch the soap opera and see themselves in the characters. And see, that is a key thing when we talk about edutainment. So a big thing in changing of attitudes and behaviors is building empathy, and also seeing yourself of being able to make those changes in your life. Well, the soap opera put the education value into the storyline. So there was the South African soap opera Scandal. Go ahead, Dara. There was also an East African television series called Makutano Junction. And then the next one, Dara, is a Dominican Republic television series. And I'm probably going to mess this up, but it was Contra Corriente, I believe.
Okay, okay, Bill.
And so all of these three examples, not only did people watch them, which is something we know in financial education world, it's hard to get butts in the seats, so to speak, hard to get people in the financial education classes. So there were people watching it, they were voluntarily watching it, and but they also benefited from it. So what they were doing was they were doing studies. There was 3 different studies done. There was a Russian Trust Foundation, and there was also the Women's World Banking that did the studies, and they found that basically the entertainment hit your brain in a different way. So you were affected in a different way than regular education. Now, we see this in things such as Dora the Explorer. Dora the Explorer is a very popular show, and it's one of those things I can mention and people know what it is, right? But just in since 2002, and this statistic's a little bit old, but Dora generated over $11 billion in worldwide sales, and selling over 65 million toys. So Dora the Explorer is a way that kids will watch this show and be able to learn things while watching the show. Well, these 3 examples that I just showed to you here were examples that were done with adults. And they were showing how after watching these, in the case of the first one here, they actually did put up a like a credit counseling type phone number for people to call. And if you saw yourself in what was happening with the character, well, let's talk about it. And people were calling, and it was showing how they were changing their attitudes and behaviors based on these learning from these characters in the show. Go ahead, Dara.
And it sounds like, just to touch on that real quick, it sounds like relatability is one of the biggest key factors in all 3 of those examples that you gave. And one example that I can talk about for Spondulics, for the radio show, I'm sure you all are familiar with Angel Reese, the LSU basketball player who won the championship, and then Caitlin Clark. She's Iowa. There was a lot of controversy going on around there. And as we know, controversy sells, unfortunately. So what I did was, for a quick example, I put a clip of them two right before.
Uh-oh. It looks like Hassan just froze. So hopefully he'll come back and can finish that thought. There you go. Go ahead and finish your thought, Hassan.
Okay, can y'all hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, great. Sorry about that. So as I was saying, I put the clip of the two famous basketball players in front of our clip for the radio show, and that clip happened to actually do 2 times or 3 times better than any other clip that we've released on social media through the radio show. And that was literally due to having the clip start off with athletes that people are timely, that people are talking about, relevant, and that they can relate to. Athletes, entertainers, musicians, all of these people, especially when we're talking about the youth, can really see themselves and relate to them. And if you can intertwine some of your messages with what's going on currently, then that will go across much better for the younger generation specifically.
Exactly, and it goes directly to the title of this session, Breaking Down Financial Equity Barriers with Financial Entertainment. So we put this quote up here from Disney and Walt Disney, and I'm in Central Florida. I have to put the obligatory Walt Disney quote up. But actually, I used it because Walt Disney coined the term edutainment, which we've been using today, that cross between education and entertainment. He was using it back in the 50s on his nature shows and different things, and really just doing whatever he could to get people to learn about the subjects that they were interested in, but doing it in an entertaining way. And so, Dara, go ahead and bring us to the next slide, and that brings up Spondulics. Back one, there you go. So, Hassan, what is Spondulics?
So as we know, Spondulics is the edutainment arm of FPP, Florida Prosperity Partnership. And we have a boatload of creators that you're going to see here soon. And what we really try to do with Spondulics, with this edutainment, is find creators, content creators that can relate to a bunch of different groups. You know, it's crazy because I've had on my own podcast, I've interviewed about 82, 83 different experts, and I've had about 5, 6 different episodes about credit specifically. And what's crazy is people are saying the same thing, but it may be a woman say it may be a man saying it may be a younger man, an older woman, and people are relating to that certain person that's giving that messenger that we talked about. So I think it's just so important that you're having a diverse group of financially edutainment resources and content to put out. And as we talked about, that is what truly will create change for people, because they want to watch it, they want to engage, but they're also learning as well.
Absolutely. So let's just talk about a few of these here on the screen, just some examples of things that we are using or have used. Hip Hop Fin Fest, if y'all don't know about that, that we've had our volume 2 that just aired recently, and we work with Pockets Change and Hip Hop CU, and two great organizations. I know that many of you probably know Pam and Dialect from their conference appearances at Prosperity Now, but Hip Hop Fin Fest is where we work with youth. That was middle and high school students across the U.S., and they were doing financial education via hip hop. So they were creating hip hop songs and learning about financial education during that process to create those hip hop songs. And we'll actually have the winner of this year's contest, breadwinner CJ, who created an awesome hip hop video for us. He's going to be at our conference coming up.
And I think really quick, if I could just interject really quick, Bill, I think just to really drive home the point of everything we literally do revolves around money. So hip hop, music, any type of music, you need money to record, you need money for the instruments, all these different things. So think about the ways that you can really, like I said, intertwine money and education into your lessons, because this was a very creative and great way. And I'm going to pass it back to Bill to discuss these. But when you're listening, think of ways that you can actually, intertwine what you're doing in your field with money, education, and things that go on in the everyday world, like music or
Absolutely.
reality TV show.
A
Money on
reality
My
TV,
Mind.
like Money on My Mind challenge. So yeah, we partnered with the Suncoast Credit Union here in Florida and created a Money on My Mind challenge where we have a group of individuals who we are doing a reality TV show with them. So basically they were paired with some certified practitioners in financial capability. And they were working with them to help them with their finances, and we filmed it along the way. So I made it fun for each of those participants. Hype House is something we're working on this summer. Hype House is an internship program. We actually now have 25 high school interns. That's 25 high school interns signed up to do Hype House this summer. So what are they doing? They're going to be in a bougie location. We're actually doing it at a local hotel here, and they will learn about a lot of things having to do with film and social media and such, and basically film each other during it while they're creating financial edutainment videos. So they're going to learn about financial education, but in a fun way, because they're doing what they enjoy. They enjoy the filmmaking process, or we have some music folks in there, so they enjoy that process. So they're doing what they love, but doing financial education at the same time. Budgeting Love is a dating show that we're actually going to be doing live here at the end of May, first of June. So if you're interested, view it on Spondulics.org, June 1st. I think it runs from 3 to 5 or something like that. Yeah, 3 to 5 on June 1st on Spondulics.org. Also, real quick, Spondulics can be downloaded on Apple TV, Roku, Amazon Fire, and your Android TV as well. So, and then we have our F5 Financial Focus Film Fest. So this film fest, we've had thousands of films from all over the world submitted to us. And basically we get the rights to play these films by doing this film festival, and for financial education purposes. So we've collected films, like I said, thousands of films from all over the world that teach financial education in some way, but they do it in an entertaining way. It's not just a talking head like Hassan and I are today, doing the teaching. It's people in situations, and then they're used in classrooms to teach about what's happening with those characters. Dari, you want to go ahead and move forward?
And really quick, I would like to just interject and say that one thing that I've since I've been working with Bill that has been different from any other, boss or higher up that I've worked with is that Bill actually listens to every and any idea. And that first idea that may come may not be the best one, but through communication, through collaboration, the ideas start to really come together, and then y'all can form something. So just saying, don't be so quick to say no to a new and innovative idea because you may have not done it before. Listen to it, put your own spin on it. If you're a bit conservative, that's fine. If it's too innovative, bring it down a little bit. Just go a little bit outside your comfort zone, and then watch that new result, watch that new show, that new activity that you come, and it'll really be great for the respondents to that financial education activity. So just wanted to throw that out there as well.
That's a very good point, and Hassan, that, and thank you for that for that comment. But it really is about just thinking of ways, and we're going to give you the opportunity to speak about this in a moment. So, like Hassan gave you that clue earlier, we do want to hear from you on this, but to give that let's start talking about ideas that you can use. What can you do in the classroom? What can you do in the venue that you have to reach folks? These folks here are some of our popular creators. All of them donate their time to FPP and Spondulics, and have created some really cool content. I know that CSMD show that she did a great series on pets and owning pets and the financial things around owning a pet. We have Sammy the Rabbit, Easy Peasy Finance. Those are both for kids. Sammy the Rabbit, if you haven't seen this, you should. He does books and shows with the character Sammy the Rabbit teaching kids. And then Easy Peasy Finance is done by a young gentleman who I think he's around 13 now, who does that series for us. So it's all about, once again, like Hassan mentioned earlier, it's reaching the people by seeing yourself in the characters and the creators. So Dara, go ahead and take us to the next one. And this quote here: diversity is a fact, but inclusion is a choice we make every day. As leaders, we have to put out the message that we embrace and not just tolerate diversity. So what does this mean? It is embracing that diversity. Just like we mentioned in all of those folks that are our content creators, you'll see that is a very diverse group of people. So it is about, once again, seeing themselves in the person that is a part of the education.
Yeah, and even back to, what I mentioned, we don't know what we don't know. So let's definitely make sure that we're listening to our teams, to our groups, and coming up, because it's all about the end goal. It's not really about, okay, who gets the credit for the idea. It's about the end goal that you and your team, the impact that you and your team are creating from your creatives. So definitely embrace that diversity, because some great things are really going to come out of it.
Absolutely. And so that leads us right to that next slide there. Representation matters. Dara, there you go. Thank you. We've done a couple of different things that are a little different than the norm. We had an allergic to savings. We have folks here on our staff that have so many food allergies on our staff. So we did a series about how food allergies can affect your financial life. We have a Pride Fest where we're working with several different groups. I know, Hassan, you did several interviews on relating the LGBTQ plus community and
learned a lot. Really learned a lot. And even with Pride Fest, with Morphing Minds, which is talking about mental and mindset, you just learn so much. And these are conversations that aren't typically had in the household. So being able to, I always like to say, exposure leads to expansion. And that's what these conversations do. Being able to talk to people of the LGBTQ plus community, being able to talk about mental health and finances.
Yeah,
those things typically don't mix. So
yes,
being able to do that has definitely been enlightening.
Yeah, Mallory from Morphing Minds, amazing. She is combining mental health and finances, something that mental health is a hot topic for a good reason, especially as so many of our youth have gone through all of the COVID shutdowns and stuff, and there's so many issues with mental health, and Mallory is right on point with connecting with folks through that aspect of on financial education. So Dara, what do we have next? There we go. I thought we had that question.
Let's go.
Let's talk about this now. We'd love for you to once again raise your hand or put your question or comments in the chat. Either one would be very cool with us. Love to talk to you if you are out there. If not, Dara can read off your comments. But we really want to do think now is what can you do to make your education entertaining for potential clients? So we gave you some examples of stuff that we did. By the way, all of the stuff that we have talked about is absolutely free for you to use. So you're welcome to go to spondulics.org, like I mentioned, SPONDULICS.org, and use any of those materials for free. All of that is provided to us for free, and we provide it to you to use for free. Once again, you can also download that on Apple TV, Amazon Fire, Roku, and Android TV, or your Apple and Android apps. But, you know, these are different things that you can use, but it can be really simple. I mean, there are people that there's so many different talents that each person has. What talent do you have that you can use, or what are some thoughts that you could use in your education to make it a little bit more entertaining?
Let's hear you. Let's hear you. We love to discuss.
So we have some hands raised. I'm going to read some things that came off in the question before I unmute. We have ideas coming in using video and gamification. Some our partner, our attendee Kimberly, has used a bingo game to help with vocabulary and word citing. We're getting a lot of ideas about a game show about financial literacy and money, and apparently there's a show on Netflix called How to Get Rich. So we'll have to check it out. Joshua Caraballo has their hand raised. So Joshua, I am unmuting you. It looks like you're self-muted. Oh, there you are, Joshua.
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Oh, wonderful. So I studied what's called entertainment education, or EE, in the literature as part of my dissertation. And I would just offer that if you haven't already looked at that, there's a whole host of wonderful sort of models and frameworks that can be utilized to make it easier to understand how to get people to change their behaviors, their attitudes, and their perceptions. In addition to identification, which you've already mentioned, what it also talks about is the importance of likability. So not only do you have to be identified with the main character or characters, but you also have to like them. Even if they start off in an unlikable position and they become likable, that's also another strategy that can be used. And in addition to that, they have to be interactive, whether that's emotionally interactive or engaged with the narrative. In order to do that, the narrative has to go or adopt the rules of drama. So I think that's what the 40 years of research offers us, in addition to understanding how people elaborate on the messages that are embedded within the entertainment itself, so that they could be motivated in order to act or adopt and have that call to action. Thank you for being here, by the way.
Thank you. That is awesome. You are so right. Yeah, we're just the very tip of everything here, but yeah, that is excellent. I'd love to talk to you offline. You know, that in fact, that's one of the things that when we do any presentation like this, Hassan and I are like, oh, we have to talk to people. We can't just do a talking heads thing, and you know, we can't just talk to people. We need to talk with people. But man, that was wonderful. Thank you so much for offering that up.
Yeah, definitely hit it right on the head, nail on the head with that one.
Absolutely. Derek, you have more?
Yes, Lori Martin has had their hand raised throughout the webinar. So Lori, I'm going to unmute you, and you're self-muted. So if you can unmute yourself, we can hear you. Hi, Lori.
All right, can you hear me? Hi. I thought I took my hand down actually, but thank you. So I've put a few things into the chat. One thing I wanted to mention earlier is, and you talked about it early on, about this trust across both sides of the table. So we work often with our banking partners. I'm with Opportunity Alliance Nevada, so that they are providing welcoming and engaging environments. So as we're working with folks, talking to them about getting banked and setting up a bank account, etc., that they know that we know who our banking partners are, where they can physically go and be welcomed and understood, and have some products that are easily gained for them. So I just wanted to talk about that trust across, quote, both sides of the table as we're talking about, we call it DEI and B, diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. And that belonging is a huge piece of that.
Belonging, great.
Oh, I've never heard of that, but I see how that that will and does play a huge role in the changing of behaviors when it comes to financial education. Feeling like we're worthy of being abundance, of achieving abundance, achieving prosperity. A lot of especially minority communities don't feel like they belong or they're worthy of that. So that was huge. Thank you.
Mhm.
What else we got? What else we got?
Yes, so Kelly Paparella, who we heard from earlier, has their hand raised. So Kelly, I'm gonna unmute you.
Great.
No, thank you so much. This has been amazing. Like I said, I am new to this financial literacy program, and I have been wanting to gamify things, because again, just talking at people might work for what I'm noticing more of an older, well, more established generation of people. But when we don't have a program that specifically speaks to youth, and going to a 4-week series isn't even that much fun for the adults that we work with as well. So, and so really, I've already edited our curriculum to do some of the ideas that you guys have presented today, but I'm very validated with, presenting videos instead of me talking at the group, having a video, especially someone who doesn't represent the way I look, or maybe, bringing those perceptions in. But how I would really, and I can't wait to dive into all of the resources that you've already provided for us, but I really would be interested in wanting to try to find a way to create a system, a game that we can present to, various partners in the community. So yes, trying to get butts in the seats is hard. And if you're by myself, so the only way I know is to collaborate with all these other agencies in my local area, so that they already have an audience of people who bring people to the table, especially if they provide a community dinner or meal. But I want to make it really effective. And if there's anything that could be a game, something that establishes a habit in wanting to play a game. I see people play online games all the time. Is there a way we can provide that same type of pace? And if you know of anything of that, or is that anything that's in the works?
Well, Spondulics.org is going to be adding a gaming section soon. That is, in fact, I think they just put the page up yesterday to say coming soon. So there's one thing there. There are a lot of availability of different types of games. In fact, I mean, if you look at our site, the Spondulics, we're more of that aggregator of what we can find out there rather than that producer. We do have some of that stuff that we have created in-house, but a lot of it is really from others, and that's what we plan on doing, is really just aggregating and finding as many of those opportunities as possible. I know that I agree completely with you on it. We have a program during the summer. It's a 4-week program. And so when you say 4 weeks, that I'm like, yes, I understand completely. We're going to have a total of at least 120 through the summer of high school students that we're working with, and it is all about making it fun for them. It's not always easy, but we want to keep them entertained throughout the process. And a lot of what we do is really challenge their minds to keep coming up with ideas. So even like in this case, where we are looking to challenge you to come up with ideas, we do that same with the youth. So I have one particular thing that we do with them, an activity that we do, and that is where I have them think of 50 ways to do something, so a very simple task. So it could be something like, how do you put your cell phone away? Because all of them are on their cell phone anyway, right? So tell me 50 ways to put your cell phone away. And then it's like, wait a second, 50 ways to put my cell phone away? I just put it in my backpack. That's one. Okay, well now tell me 49 others. And that starts to break them out of that that mindset of A plus B equals C that they're taught in high school, where they're, well, at least here in Florida, a lot of them are just taught to that test. So, you know, it's things like that where we start to help them to expand their mind in a legal way, expand their mind, so that they are trying to come up with creative solutions to things. And it's amazing what we can get out of the youth when we come up with things like that. Hassan, do you want to?
Yeah, just to piggyback on that really, really quickly. I mean, let's take a look at what Bill and Spondulics have done with their Hype House, getting filmmaking and involving that with financial education. What sticks out to me, and if I was on this call, I would be like, okay, they chose a specific passion for a specific group of people and then integrated financial literacy, financial education into that. So for everybody listening, you know, if you have a big group of children, break them up into their passions. So that's breaking them up. Like those passions go well above gender, race, orientation, all those things. Passion is your passion, black, white, blue, or green. So now you break that up with the passion, and then you can integrate your financial literacy messages into that specific group, whether it be filmmaking, music making, anything of that nature. But I think kind of combining that student or that participant's passion or their why, you know, their emotional why with financial education, that's where things really start to mesh and really start to make sense for a lot of folks.
Yeah, it's kind of a different way of thinking about financial education. We're kind of thinking of it in less of the terms of how do we just do a financial education class, in more of the way of how do we connect with someone and teach them financial education. So Dara, with that, I think we'll go ahead and move forward because I see our time is running up. We do hope that you will connect with us. You can reach me at bill@fppcoalition.org, and Hassan, same thing, Hassan@fppcoalition.org. We hope to connect with each and every one of you, and we would love to share with you offline. We're available.
Yes, and we're both on LinkedIn as well under Bill Mills and Hassan Thomas. So you can catch us on LinkedIn and connect with us. Link in.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And thank you so much to Prosperity Now for this opportunity. And thank you, Dara, for hosting us.
Yes. Master clicker.
I mean, thank you so much. This was, I mean, I've been out back here unmuting people and clicking the PowerPoint, really excited and energized. So thank you both. We had a lot of great feedback within the webinar itself. So I'm going to begin wrapping us up just to share some opportunities for those of the attendees on the call to stay engaged with us. Once we click out of the webinar, a survey will pop up asking you to give us some feedback on how we did. We'd love if you could fill that out so we can continue improving our webinars and our learning opportunities in the future. Please visit our advocacy center on the Prosperity Now website to stay up to date with advocacy efforts. There's some great ones going on right now. One around baby bonds, advocating for baby bonds, especially at the federal level. And of course, we will be sending you an email within the next week with the recording and the presentation from this webinar and call itself. And please check out Prosperity Now's event page for more webinars and events. We have another webinar next Thursday that we'll be talking about fair housing, commemorating 55 years of the Fair Housing Act. So I'm looking forward to that. Let's see, plug into the Prosperity Now community. We consider all of you a part of our community. I'm Bill and Hassan at the FPB Coalition. They are one of our community champions in Florida. And so within the community, you can join one of our networks, get more information about webinars and working groups, and opportunities to facilitate some peer discussions in the future. And a couple more things to share with you. In September of this year, September 6th through 8th, we are hosting VitaCon in Pittsburgh. Registration will open in a couple weeks. It's really exciting. So if you're in the Vita world, like Bill is, like the FPP Coalition is, you can come to Pittsburgh and join us and really nerd out on taxes and the tax code. And then, of course, it wouldn't be a Prosperity Summit Encore without us sharing information about our next Prosperity Summit. This happens every other year. You can join 1,000 of your closest friends in this field to learn about things such as Spondulics and what Bill and Hassan are doing. We'll be hosting the 2024 Summit back in Washington, D.C., September 4th through 6th in 2024. So with that, I believe we are done. Oops, I skipped the thank you page. Thank you so much. We were so glad to have you, Bill and Hassan, and everyone who joined us on this webinar, and we will see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.